This is it. No, keep filing your nails. What are you? Can't you go someplace to pay somebody to do this for you?
Like my wife, why do you shine your own shoes? I'm like, because I enjoy doing it and I do it better than them. And she goes, pay somebody to do that. I'm like, I gotta go take the shoes. I got everything right here. I do it right here. This I got it right here. Saves time.
Have you ever, Mike Garafolo with us, brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance and Zogs on Fox Island. Have you ever had your shoes shined at the airport?
I did it one time at a train station in Hoboken. They got the old Lackawanna train station.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit up on the chair. And I'm going to let the dude go to work.
Okay.
And, you know, he did a nice job. But I'm like, I could have done this at home for $10 cheaper, you know?
Is it good? I mean, is the conversation good? I've never done it. I don't have dress shoes. You know what I mean? So I don't ever dress up. So I would never do it.
I don't understand the airport. Well, I guess I do understand the airport one, but it's just like all the things at the airport, half of them I don't have time for anyway. It's like these stores. Who arrives 3 hours early for a flight anymore anyway? Who has time to get their shoes shined? But I guess, hey, I'm going to a business meeting last minute. Got to get them shined. This guy's right here. I go do it. Yeah.
Have you ever done then you haven't done like the chair massage? I always think that's so weird. You're walking through the airport and some guy is just bent over on that chair, like that dentist chair. And some, old like Russian woman is just going to town on this guy. I'm like, that just seems odd. I
see it at the mall too. You know, the guy you got your face in that thing. Probably 100 faces have been in there already today, and just sticking it right in there. It's
just terrible. Well, your fingernails look good. It's freshly manicured. Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. Again, Hartley and Hartley Insurance, family-owned and second-generation independent insurance agency. Been serving the Puget Sound area since 1978. They promise honesty, integrity, fairness. Contact Jaime Hartley when he's not playing golf. 253-565-8700. Also, Zogs on Fox Island. Great place to grab a cold beer, watch the game, hang out with friends. New spring and summertime hours at Zogs, Monday through Thursday, 3 to 10. Friday through Saturday, 12 to 10. Sunday, 12 to 9. Visit Zogs on Fox Island, Facebook for more information. Great place to go watch the Masters. First round underway today. Now, as we're recording this, I'm not going to give you a leaderboard update because it's going to change. You got a favorite golfer? Did you pick somebody this week?
I have not watched golf in quite some time, so I'm way behind. Somebody asked me, we were playing yesterday, I guess it was. Yeah. The guy in the middle of the round was like, who do you think's going to win the Masters this week? And I was like, even if I was following golf, I'd have no idea. Like, how do you predict these things?
You play golf. You're a fan of golf. You're always sending me pictures of you playing it. You enjoy it, but you don't like to watch it?
No, I didn't say that. I haven't had the chance to do that. Like, just on the weekends to be like, honey, I'm going to sit here for 6 hours to watch a tournament. Not going to happen.
That's not going to fly over in the household?
No. And as a matter of fact, I remember I was watching the clips of Tiger winning from a couple of years ago. Somebody had tweeted them out. And remember that was moved up because of weather. And I was thinking to myself, if this was later, I can't remember the circumstances, but I was like, if it's later, I'd had no shot of watching this.
Right.
And because it was early, we were all watching it together. And I was like, this is great. This is, for some reason, early Sunday afternoon is a no-go for me. I don't know why.
Well, and for you guys, right? I always think this, and you've probably only experienced this, right? Because you've never lived on the West Coast?
No.
Okay. So you've only just experienced like East Coast sports television viewing.
Yes.
Now, I think you guys are missing out. I think you guys get hosed on this. West Coast is way better.
I mean, it was unnerving the one time I took a flight. I think it was to Seattle, my first West Coast flight, or maybe it was San Diego. I think it was San Diego. And I woke up at like 9:15, and the college games had already started. I was like, what? How do you people live like this?
So you don't like it. You like the college game to start at noon.
Yeah, because it's like when 7 o'clock games start on the East Coast, it's 4 o'clock for you guys. You haven't even left work yet. That's weird.
but think about like Monday Night Football. I mean, you guys don't start Monday Night Football until 8 o'clock. It's awful.
There's pluses and minuses. Matter of fact, when the U.S. Open, was it last year? I think it was last year. Yeah, it was in.
Well, when it's on the West Coast. Yeah.
It was somewhere West Coast last year. And it was fun. I was like, the kids were in bed, and then I watched the finals. It's like that block in the middle of, is tough for me, but that worked out great. So there's pluses and minuses. Ideally, it would be like it was 60 years ago, where I come home and I do whatever I want as a husband. It just doesn't work that way anymore.
Hey, don't you think we should go back to those times? They were they were simpler.
You ever read like the Good Housekeeping or whatever? They've got the old clip, like what to do for your husband when he comes home, and make sure you got a drink ready. You know, take his coat at the door.
Oh, it's
Make
Mad
sure
Men.
he's not walking through the house with the coat on.
Basically, just want to go back to Mad Men. That's what you want.
Well, you're right, but I also wondered who wrote this, men or women? Was it a man writing this for Good Housekeeping to make sure that they become too aware of there are other options in life other than being a slave to your husband?
That's so good. It's just so good. We can talk about that for hours. All right. Hey, you had it this week. One of the number of the official visits that come in for the Seattle Seahawks. So each team gets 30, right? 30 guys they get to bring in.
Yep. Okay. Hang on a second. I got a scoop here. Okay, good. CJ Uzama going to the Eagles. And they don't care about that, but I got to send it to Ian.
Hey.
Ian and I are doing this together, so hold on one second.
You take it away. We got live breaking news on pucksports.com, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you find your podcast, right here. Even though you're going to be watching this later or listening to this later, it's breaking news right now for us. How about
You're already going to know. You're already going to know the breaking news.
You're already going to know when you flip on and listen, watch, or whatever.
Yes, 30. You get 30 non-local visits.
Oh, non-local. Okay.
So if you get a guy who's from the area, he can be part of. You have a local pro day, which for some teams is like Florida State, Miami. All those colleges are all around the Florida teams.
Right.
For the Giants and Jets, they always felt like they were getting hosed. They're like, we're getting Rutgers and Columbia guys. Like, what are we doing around here? So you got the local visits, and then you got the 30 visits that you can bring in a guy, do the medicals, have him on the board, all this stuff, and you're limited to 30 of those. Some teams, they'll bring in as many as possible at a certain position to be like, well, we're looking at a quarterback, so we're going to bring them all in. This way you don't know which one we're doing. Okay. The other teams like to do a little cloak and dagger, but these things wind up getting out anyway, so and the agents love to put it out, to be like, hey, look how many visits my guy had. And sometimes, the more visits a guy has, the worse assigned for him, because it's a lot of times character or medical that they're bringing him in for.
Right. What? Okay, so everyone tries to decipher these visits. What does it mean? Like, they're bringing all these guys in. They're clearly looking at quarterback, or they're clearly looking at this position. I mean, how much of is it really they are interested in the player? How much of is it a smokescreen? And are teams like Seattle, do they use this more of a smokescreen to kind of throw people off what they're looking at?
No, I think it's legit interest, and you're doing it because you need to have more time with the guy, or you need, again, to have a medical evaluation of him. Jerry Reese, when I covered the Giants, Jerry Reese always said, look, guys, you find out about a visit, great. Yes, we have interest in the player, but you don't know what happened during the visit. Like, maybe we had character concerns, and the guy came in and is like, you know what? Just something a little off there, take him off the board or drop him down or something like that. And the medical comes back a certain way. So he goes, we never use visits. And he wanted this to be known for the agents and the players as well. I mean, that's why he said this at a press conference. We never use visits just to create a smokescreen. There is always interest in a player at some point of the draft for the guys that we bring in. I believe that's the way most guys are operating. I don't think it's intentionally like, hey, we're going to bring this guy in. Now, what you might get is, hey, we're going to find time with him at his pro day, at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, and then not bring him in because then we don't want it to be known. But whenever you see a guy in the building, it's definitely that there's something on the tape that we're interested in. We got to find out more information.
They're movers and shakers here with the draft a couple of weeks away. I mean, guys moving up, guys dropping down. I mean, what's kind of the scuttlebutt? All right, you hear a bunch of lies and people are trying to deceive everyone. I mean, what have you heard? I mean, it seems kind of chalky right now, but I don't know. You tell me. Take me inside the world.
It's funny that Dan Quinn. We were at the owners' meetings middle of March, and we talked about the number 2 overall pick. And I said, if you canvass most teams, they'll tell you they think it's going to be Jaden Daniels, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can have 31 teams tell you, it's going to be Jaden Daniels, the one team that has to make the decision. That's why covering the draft is hard. Mm-hmm. Like, free agency is easy because teams are having conversations with agents and players, and information's getting out. when it comes to the draft, it's like you got to kind of do some investigating and read between the lines, which sort of makes it easier because there's no pressure on us to be like, you got to get to the information, because nobody can. Nobody really knows.
Right.
So we just do the best that we can, provide some insight, and just get you as close to the draft as possible. But we talked about Daniels, and Tom said, it's funny, I had some people think J.J. McCarthy's in the mix. And the reporters asked him about it the next day, and he was like, well, I don't know what they know. I wish they would tell me. We haven't made it. Yes, you have. Like, Dan, and I love Dan. I'm not going to call him a liar or anything, but like, you're sitting there. Yeah, there's still more of the process that has to play out, but you know who your offensive coordinator likes. You know who your general manager likes. You got a pretty good feel for which way you're going to go. So the rising, the falling, all this stuff, there's not a whole lot of that. By the time you get to the combine, teams are pretty much dialed in on who they like and where they think they're going to go.
Do you get a sense which way they're leaning, May or Daniels?
My hunch is Daniels. I mean, everything that I've kind of been told is geared towards that. I've heard some scenarios or stories where, Adam Peters said this, or he reacted this way, and that tells me that it's that kind of stuff that kind of fuels some of this stuff. So my sense is Daniels. The Raiders have been talked about. We know the connection with Antonio Pierce. We know that they would love to come up and get him. I don't think they've got a snowball's chance in hell of getting up to 2 or 3. And my understanding is the Patriots at 3 have not shown a willingness to come out of that spot. Now they're listening, and maybe it's because they want to see what happens at 2 first, and maybe on the clock they'll make a decision. But teams generally have a sense for, can you get that team out of that spot? And my understanding is most teams believe 2 and 3 are staying put, which shocked me because if you asked me a month or so ago, is it going to be Bears, Commanders, Patriots picking it 1, 2, 3? I would have said no way. One of those teams is trading out of there, but it sounds like they feel like they're in a position to get themselves a quarterback. You don't know when you're going to get back there. Again, it's the most important piece, so they might. It seems like they're all going to wind up taking a quarterback there. Which then, so let me play this out for you.
Sure.
If it's Jaden Daniels at 2 and J.J. McCarthy at 3, which is another thing that's being kicked around, then you got Drake May at 4. Then I think it gets interesting. Then it's Giants can go from 6 to 4 because I gather the Giants really like Drake May. And then you got the Vikings, who obviously been talked about, and the capital that they have got to get up to 4. So then I think you see 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's May at 3, JJ could slip a couple of slots, but that's the scenario that gets you 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterback. Because then if the Cardinals trade with the Giants, they're only going back to 6. They might miss out on Marvin Harrison at 5, but Neighbors is there to be had at 6, so they can still get themselves a receiver and pick up some more draft capital.
What do people say about McCarthy? I mean, I think for people out here, right, that on the West Coast, and Washington fans, obviously we're in Seattle, you see them in the national championship game, you watch Michigan play because they're always on TV, and you come away as a college football fan, you go, yeah, he didn't really do much. Now, is that they didn't ask him to do a lot, that they felt, hey, we got a strong running game, our defense is solid, we don't need to rely on him? And if we wanted to, like someone came out, I can't remember who the analyst was, and said, hey, if you would have put him in LSU's offense a few years ago, he would have been Joe Burrow. I mean, I don't know if that to be the case, but because we just haven't seen it. Is the general sense that they just didn't put a lot on his plate? He can certainly handle anything that they put on his plate. They just didn't do it. Is that kind of the word?
The evaluation? Yeah, and there's a lot of 2-man routes instead of 4-man routes or even 5-man routes where he's got the whole field to read. And the film's not perfect. There are times where he made some questionable decisions, from my understanding, and that goes back to, okay, well, if those opportunities are only coming up so often, is he not making the right reads because he's not getting the volume of chances to kind of see the field and go through everything? I mean, you're spot on with that one. I just know that there are teams up high that really feel, and when I say teams, it's not going to be a consensus in there. It's a question of, let's say it's the Patriots. What does Elliott Wolf think? That's going to be the most important part of this thing, and Gerard Mayo, obviously. But there are teams up high that have people inside the building in important spots who have really good evaluations of him and think that.
Nope. Yeah, I got you. You just cut out for a sec. You're good. Yeah.
That was my worry as we switched to this. Is like when I get a call, am I going to be able to kind of stay connected here?
You nailed it. You're perfect. You're a pro.
Yeah. Anyway, I like your evaluation of it. I think it's going to be interesting. I think that's the wild card up top. JJ McCarthy could be anywhere from 3 to somewhere back in the. I mean, he's not going to get out of the top 10, but 3 to somewhere closer to the back of the top 10.
Okay, what are we hearing about Michael Penix? Do you think that this is this is all over the board with Michael Penix. I mean, there's some people first round for sure. No, he's not going to be a first round, second round. And then now you hear top 10, top 13. Where do you think ultimately the Husky quarterback lands?
Top 10 would surprise me. It really would. And I think once you get that run on quarterbacks, because if the 4 are going before him, which we do expect, then you've got all these position players, Joe Alt and Marvin Harrison, and Neighbors and Rome Odunze.
Great players.
Yeah, like those teams don't necessarily. That was pretty funny. Never mind. I can't repeat it. The text that came back to me on the person that I told I'll call you right after this. Yeah, how do you pass those guys up at that point? Plus, you're getting it. I shouldn't say this. Let me rephrase that, because a lot of times you get into that cluster. Now you got teams that don't need quarterbacks, but the Raiders are in there. The Broncos are in there. Do they decide to make a move and go in? And Bo Nix, it's going to be your preference when it comes to those guys once you get to these teams into that stretch. So I would say somewhere middle of the first round is about my guess. And maybe it's somebody that comes, like if the Giants, my scenario I talked about earlier, if the Giants don't get a quarterback at 6, I could see them potentially trying to come back into the first round, whether it's Nix or Penix. I think that's the way it kind of plays out for them and a couple of teams.
And it feels kind of like Bo Nix is kind of falling out of favor with a lot of people.
I don't know about that. I think there's still some. I hear a lot of good things, and some people that like him. Just not at the top of this first round. I mean, you're potentially talking about 6 quarterbacks, and that's a lot.
It
6
is.
quarterbacks in the first round. Is it 5 and then 1 early on day 2? We could see 6. The way that there's just so many teams that need it right now.
Yeah. Hey, this is off topic. Did you watch the Apple series, The Dynasty on the Patriots?
Yeah. Yeah, from start to finish.
Okay, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it was so goddamn entertaining. Now, I was surprised. Now going into it, I thought it would be like and maybe it was a little bit to a degree, but I thought it would be this real kind of controlled. This is about the Patriots. We'll just kind of massage the Patriots and we'll be fine. Massage, that's good. We'll just kind of massage the storylines for them and take it easy. I didn't think that they took it easy on me. I mean, some of the questions and the topics they brought up, I thought were good. There's clearly some things that they didn't touch on. What was your take on it? And you probably know so much more about all this stuff behind the scenes. And do you think they did a good job reflecting that dynasty and that series and that team?
I mean, it was incomplete to me, right? And it's hard to get it all in even though it was how many episodes? 8 episodes, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But like Gronk was almost treated like an afterthought, right? They spent so much time on Aaron Hernandez, and I get it; it's a murder. It's pretty big. You don't often see that when it comes to dramatic developments with an NFL team. But like, it was like, oh yeah, by the way, we got this other guy out of Arizona. Yeah, he was pretty good too. And there were so many Gronk moments. Denting the trophy with the baseball, and there could have been so much. Here's what it was like to have Gronk around. So it was kind of incomplete. I think it was, Robert Kraft was saying he wished it wouldn't have been so negative, but he was. I understand he said he didn't have any say over the content, but he was certainly funding it. It was a Robert Kraft production. So.
I didn't know that it was. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
What's that? I didn't know that. I didn't know it was funded by him. I had no clue.
No, it was a Kraft Video Productions or whatever his production company is.
Do you think it was unfair to Belichick?
Yeah.
In what way?
I do. Because they win their first title or their second title, whatever it was, and it's like dun dun dun. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. There's like 18 more years and 4 more Super Bowls to go. Like, why are we already hitting this? And even they still had 1 more to win, and it was like it's over. This is the worst place to ever be. Who would ever want to be in Foxborough and play there and all this? And well, then they won another Super Bowl. It couldn't have been that bad, could it? I mean, I understand the guy is, Nick Saban. You play for him, he's going to be all over you because they want you to be great, and they feel like they have to do things a certain way, and it may not be your preference. And I don't know, do they win 6 Super Bowls if he's just a little jollier? Maybe, I don't know, but like whatever he did, it's not like he was powerless. They made it seem like he was just this tyrant who didn't know how to get these guys to perform. They won another Super Bowl after that. That was just it was one of the last episodes. I was like, wait a minute, you can't do this yet. We're not there yet. We're not to the point where Brady's like, I'm done.
Yeah, it was interesting because it's just the way none of those players. I mean, they may have their opinions of him, during the moment, but they're going to look back on it and be like, my God, the ultimate goal is just winning. Winning as much as you possibly can. He did that.
So,
do you know what was? Go ahead.
But I want to hit on that one because back in 2007, we're starting the 2007 season, and the Giants did a great. I say this all the time. Media relations doesn't often win the Super Bowl. Media relations helped the Giants win the Super Bowl in 2017. Media helped them. Coughlin stay in the job. What they did was they offered up. Everybody had a chance to write a piece on Belichick, Coughlin, excuse me, because they wanted people to see the real Belichick, and they did a really ballsy thing. The first person that they gave it to was the feature writer, one of the feature writers at our place, who was the former beat writer. Even though I was the beat writer, they gave it to him, and I was totally fine with it because he wrote the hell out of it. His name was Kevin Manahan, and it was ballsy because it could have gone either way. Could have been really negative and critical, and it was. And he took the picture of this. Here's this guy, and here's why he is how. But at the end of the story, I'll never forget this. It was Mark Brunell, who didn't have a great relationship with Tom Coughlin.
Mark Brunell,
over the years,
former Husky.
Yeah. And Brunell, he paints this picture. At the end of the story, he's at Coughlin's golf tournament, and like Coughlin is saying goodbye to him after he hit, because Coughlin would stand on 17 and hit the shot as everybody came through. And Brunell's like pulling away in the golf cart, and he turns around and he comes back. And Kevin just happened to hear this conversation. He's like, Tom, I really want to thank you for everything you did as a coach and the way that you were. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand it, but I understand it now, having taken a step back. And I think he was still playing it at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And he's like, he paints this picture of Brunell pulls away, and Coughlin has this moment of just like, all right, and then back to the tee. It's just exactly what you talked about. Guys in the moment don't understand, but then they look back on it and understand. So to me, it's like I would have preferred to hear a lot more of that in the dynasty.
Okay, we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap up that topic. Do we know to this day what the Malcolm Butler situation was?
And I remember reading something a couple of weeks ago that said, we're going to get an answer on what happened. I was like, this is great. This is the only thing. Like, this is what I wanted, and never happened. And
so you don't know? You have your theories, or you've been told, like, it might have been this, might have been that, but like, we don't know definitively why he didn't play.
Didn't Ian report something? Ian Rappaport, my colleague, report something about some curfew deal or something, like he missed curfew or something. He reported that a couple of days after the Super Bowl.
Okay,
and then nobody really confirmed it. And it kind of hung out there, and that may be a part of what happened. But they said in the documentary it was something personal between him and Belichick. Like maybe he missed curfew, and then he said something about his mother or something. I don't know. I mean, what could be personal between the two? I have no idea. I want, before both of these guys are gone or one of these guys are gone, I want to hear what that story is.
Yeah, that's me too. I was massively intrigued by that. Hey, Brazil, are you going to go to Brazil? Packers, Eagles?
No,
did you get that assignment? Who got that assignment on the NFL Network?
I have no idea. And I'm not. When they announced the London games the 1 year, it was a couple of years ago, and I asked my assignment boss, and he goes, "My rule is if you ask about them, you're eliminated. Okay, so you're out." I was like, "Dang."
You are perfect for it, though. You are perfect for it. You got the tan. You got the olive skin. Don't ask. But if you go, I need you down there with those dancers, the conga line dancers. I think all of them. I know. Gotta be great. You'd be perfect for it. Speaking of your NFL Network colleagues, a shout out to all those. It's a tough job. It's tough business, and thinking of all those people that unfortunately no longer working there. That's some good people, man. Some good people that I'm going to miss there on some of those game day shows, and kind of my morning, you get stuck in this, right? Your morning routine, whether it's on Sunday or during the weekdays, and you see these people up there, and they're just kind of part of your life. So just shout out to all those guys, Will and Jesse and those guys. I'm going to end on this, and it's just kind of a sour note, but I'm curious what your thoughts and I guess where the NFL is on this. As we record this, O.J. Simpson passed away today at the age of 76. He had cancer. I didn't know he had cancer. What is the status with the league and him in the Hall of Fame and all that? He's still in it and still recognize him and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Now, the Hall of Fame is really its own entity. I understand that Roger Goodell is in a Hall of Fame weekend will be participating in a lot of things. It makes it look like the NFL. The Hall of Fame is its own entity, and they, in their statement today, made it clear, put the words on field. His on-field accomplishments will continue to be honored in Canton. That's the way that they made it clear today. But go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder. I wonder if the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I wonder if they're doing the right thing with that. Should they disassociate themselves with him or not?
And this was a thing when Peter King wrote about Darren Sharper after his situation came up a couple of years ago, and it became a firestorm because I think he said he took the side of it's about the on-field accomplishments, and he got roasted for it. And it's like, well, OJ is, OJ was not convicted. I guess maybe that would have been different if he was. I mean, I understand the civil suit part of it, and I understand the common sense part of it for a lot of people. It's so tough to separate. Like, where do you draw that line? Because Lawrence Taylor's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's not a model citizen.
That's right. We could start going down that's right. I mean, you start going down the list of guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Do we start now looking at everybody and start taking them out for what they did? I mean, that's kind of a big thing in baseball, right? Baseball does kind of the same thing. Should we start removing guys? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right or wrong answer to that is.
But I think it's more cut and dried for baseball.
Yeah.
In that, because it's about the game, right? It's about your accomplishments were affected by what you did off the field. And there are guys in there who probably partook as well. But if you don't know, it's like, well, they're good. But the guys that we know because they admitted it or were found out, they're not allowed in. So that's a whole different conversation. With the Pro Football Hall of Fame have made it clear it's not going to be about what you did off the field. It's only about what you did on the field and as part of your team.
There he is, Mike Garafolo, NFL Network. He joins us every Thursday, our NFL football show here on pucksports.com, also on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you find your podcasts. He's finishing up as he started. Manicuring his nails. His weekly appearance brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance and also Zogs on Fox Island. You're the best. Thanks, Mike.
You got it, pal. Good talking. See you next week.
Okay, we'll see you next week. As always, we'll talk to you soon, and we promise to be there.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!